Hello, my name is Will Prinzen and I'm the founder of Sciuridae. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this short presentation. If you're wondering, Sciuridae is Latin for squirrel. I chose this because the squirrel is unique in the animal kingdom. It spends 90% of its waking hours searching for food. And I want to bring that same focus and determination to reducing the negative impacts that consumer debt is having on Canadians' ability to save money. I'm sure you too have seen the stats. Today, 50% of Canadians would be challenged if their paycheck was 1 week late. Savings rates have been on a steady decline for the past 30 years. In 2014, the median deposit to RSP was only $3,000. So a lot of Canadians are facing an underfunded retirement, and many agree the reason for the lack of savings is due to Canadians' consumer debt levels. I have witnessed its growth, as well as its negative impacts which almost derailed our industry in 2008. So I'm building a not-for-profit social enterprise that is designed to begin to reverse this trend, and I'm inviting financial services companies who are interested to do the same to join me. Now, to give you a little more insight and foundation on how Sciuridae would fit in with you, let me tell you a little story about Bob. Bob is a Canadian. He's 50 years old. He has $100,000 in his RSP and is putting $500 per month into that RSP. Now, he's looking for an income in retirement of around $40,000 from it, and he'd like to retire when he's 65 in 15 years from now. So you've met with him, and based on his risk tolerance and financial situation, you agree that a 5% return would be a good figure to use as a basis in his financial plan. So here's the problem. Based on this, Bob's still going to be about $263,000 short of his goal. You see, one of Bob's challenges is that he also has a $200,000 mortgage. And while that's not a huge issue, it is because he bought his house 20 years ago for $100,000, and he's been borrowing to consume and is using the equity in his home to fuel it. Bob's gone to Disney, bought a brand new car every 4 or 5 years, renovated his home, overspent on his credit cards and lines of credit, and has been consolidating these instead of paying them off. Now, I want to help Bob improve his financial situation. So to achieve this, the not-for-profit social enterprise is to be an intermediary financial company, where our purpose will be to introduce, teach, monitor, and support financial advisors to integrate an RSP bond overlay program into their portfolios. So what's an RSP bond overlay? It's a balanced investment savings strategy built upon the principles of modern portfolio theory and tax efficiencies. It integrates an investment credit solution as a complement to an RSP. It creates tax efficiencies due to a more favorable tax treatment of capital gains, and most importantly, it is risk adjusted. In other words, the risk of an RSP bond overlay strategy would be similar to the risk of an RSP only strategy, except the good news is that an RSP bond overlay strategy provides 1, 2, and in some cases up to 4% higher returns, and I have 15 years of data to prove it. So now let's bring back Bob for a second. If Bob's expected return went from 5% to 6%, his shortfall would be only $159,000. And at 7%, it would go down to $58,000. And obviously at 8%, he'd actually exceed his goal by $42,000. And while this is all extremely positive, there is more. You see, the RSP bond overlay actually brings balance. Beyond the risk-adjusted and higher rate of return, the greatest thing about using an RSP bond overlay is that you're creating better balance for Bob. Integrating an RSP bond overlay requires stronger fiduciary responsibility by you, the financial professional who chooses to use it. And more importantly, it brings Bob to a better level of understanding about credit, and hopefully shows him that his biggest problem isn't the rate of return he should expect from his investments, as much as it is his reliance on consumer credit. Bob needs to understand he's unbalanced. He's risk adverse to investing, yet lives a life where his choices of lifestyle are increasingly becoming his biggest risk. So where does this leave us? Well, I'm seeking first responders to help move this forward and have been very fortunate to be working with Wilfrid Laurier's Launchpad. I'm putting together a focus group session to talk more about what this means for you and what you will need as this develops forward. I really hope you will take the time to join us. More details in your email. Thanks for taking the time to consider this. See you there. Sincerely, all the best.